Thanks for joining us on News 360 from the News Hub here at Desawe Kanda in Accra. My name is Aisha Yakubu Khalid.
And I am Komla Aduma. Headlines this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxy Superfix Tile Cement, Heaven Insecticide Spray and Coil, Fecal Spray Starch, and Apart Foods.
My Life Insurance.
Danger looms at Kwamekrom in the Bakuya district of Yoti region as part of a weak and abandoned telecommunication mast keeps falling.
Also this evening, all 131 lower courts in the country to settle cases through Alternative Dispute Resolution ADR from tomorrow Monday, July 19 to Friday, July 23 to reduce the backlog.
We will also take you to South Africa, where a day of rioting has left 212 people dead.
And in more international news, German Chancellor Angela Merkel vows to fast-track aid after visiting some worst-hit areas in West Germany in last week's flooding in parts of Europe. We have details of these stories and more. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, including some entertainment stories, please.
Let's look at the details. Now, a looming danger hanged over the people of Kwamekrom in the Bakuya district of the Yoti region. An abandoned telecommunication mast has become weak, posing serious threat to lives and property.
Some telecommunication service providers some 11 years ago began a project to erect a mast here at Kwamekrom in the Bakuya district of the Yoti region to improve upon their network service. However, the project had stalled, leaving the metal mast hanging. Residents say some of the bolts and nuts are now beginning to give way, and residents fear the mast may collapse anytime as part of the metals kept giving away. Head pastor of the Church of Pentecost, Reverend Emmanuel Kojo Afezi, was a victim. Falling metals from the weak mast reportedly hit the roof of the church building, destroying part of the structure. He wants the National Media Commission, the National Communication Authority, and the Ministry of Communication to intervene.
We will not wait till something happens before we will say that we need help. Now we need help so that this thing can be dismantled for us, so that we will have our peace of mind in the area.
Assemblyman of the area, Jones Maulipenyi, recounted how a fallen metal from the mast nearly killed children who were playing close by and called for sanction against the service providers.
It's a threat to the community, and we appeal to them. We called them several times, but they are not responding.
The mast is sited on a plot of land about 20 meters from the Church of Pentecost in the middle of the town.
Let's do some COVID-related stories now. COVID-19 deaths in the country now stand at 810. That's according to the Ghana Health Service. 8 out of the 16 regions of the country have so far recorded positive cases. Now, the regions include the Greater Accra, the Ashanti, the Central, Eastern, Northeast, Upper East, and Upper West regions. We also know that 156 new cases have been recorded, while 98,435 confirmed cases, according to the Ghana Health Service, and also 95,024 of those have recovered and have been discharged. Of the confirmed COVID-19 cases, 205 were reported from routine surveillance and 88 from enhanced surveillance activities and 115 from travelers under mandatory quarantine in both Accra and Tamale. Let's now speak to Reverend Professor Kwamekrom, molecular and public health virologist at the Department of Medical Microbiology of the University of Ghana Medical School. Thank you, Doc, for joining us here on News 360. First off, we have the figures spiking, the deaths also going up. We understand that ICU admissions have also more than doubled. From where you sit, are we in a third wave?
Well, anything is possible. And a good evening to your listeners. Definitely the cases are going up. And normally when the cases start going up, you should remember that it's not a simple summative thing. It's exponential. 2 people will give it to 4 people, 2 people will give it to 8 people, 8 will give it to 30 people. The numbers are not going to increase just in a simple fashion. So yes, it could be the beginning of a third wave. It could also mean something else. We just have to see how things will pan out. But yes, if you look at the previous situations we had, the case, that's how it starts. It starts rising gradually, and then you see us going for a third wave.
Are we losing a hang,
yes.
Prof? Are we losing a hang on the management of COVID? Because we know that in the past, there were some measures that were instituted that may have served us well, according to many health experts. Now we're having us slip back to this state where we are now. Is it a lost cause as we speak?
Well, I think there's still hope. If you know, we need to just, but people don't still believe. I think that's the biggest problem. And now the new phrase you hear is, "Oh, I've been vaccinated twice." So there's generally complacency. People think that, well, this will happen to me. Others, I'm just thrown out. I'm oblivious of what is happening around them. Now, some others think that they have the vaccine, so they are free to be able to live, in quotes, their normal lives. And I think this is what is partly giving us a problem, because if you look at the beginning, when the second wave started, there were some people were a bit scared. I mean, people were putting on masks and things like that. But all of a sudden, all that has been thrown out of the window. And I think it's worrying. You see, we are dealing with a virus which changes. It may not end up as bad as we think. It may end up worse than we think. Because as it continues to grow in populations, it gives that the virus the ability to change. And now with the vaccination as well, you're exposing the virus to immune pressure. So you actually add another layer of possibility of change. So we can't predict anything. And so we should behave like people who are hoping for the worst.
Before you leave us, would you advocate, for example, a return to some of the strict measures that were enforced, possible lockdowns or restrictions in some parts of the country to deal with the spread?
Well, I mean, we've all seen that lockdowns may not work per se. I mean, we saw what happened, especially in our environment in Ghana when we tried the lockdown. And again, we should be mindful now. People are balancing economic issues with you can see that they're trying to balance economic issues with what you call it, trying to control the disease. I have heard on different discussions talking about funerals, etc., and things like that. People complaining that their kind of income took nosedives because of the restriction of numbers, etc. But we have to find innovative ways of doing things. So, for example, if we are having a funeral, don't let people sit right after the, and we've done it in my church before. Right after the service, you ask people to sit where they are, and they pack the refreshments in bags, and then distribute it. After there's no sitting, everybody leaves. You know, we have to be innovative if we want to try to balance the two of them. Because other than that, it continues to spread. For now, I can tell you for sure that people are presenting with COVID like malaria. They have no cough, they have no clinical symptoms of a respiratory disease, but yet they are COVID positive, they are SARS-CoV-2 positive. In other words, they have COVID. And they all come with general body weakness, etc. So the diagnosis, the presentation may also be changing, where you're having people who do not have respiratory symptoms at all. So we may be looking at a situation where things we have a lot of problematic things on our hands. I think that, yes, we should put in some restrictions, but our experience probably tells us that in as much as we can put in some restrictions, that can still allow for movement.
All right.
And the time to do it is now, so that we don't end up in a situation where now we are running for hospital beds and scattering all over the place because we want things to work.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Kwame Nasego there. He is from the University of Ghana Medical School. They're speaking to us. We appreciate that you join us here on News 360.
Let's look at some other stories tonight. All lower courts in the country will, from tomorrow, Monday, July 19 to Friday, July 23, settle cases through alternative dispute resolution, ADR. The focus of the week-long judicial reform is to reduce the backlog of cases as the 131 lower courts, made up of 33 circuit and 98 district courts.
Alternative Dispute Resolution, ADR, is the procedure for settling disputes without litigation, such as arbitration, mediation, or negotiation. ADR procedures are usually less costly and more expeditious. They are increasingly being utilized in disputes that would have otherwise resulted in litigation, including high-profile labor disputes, divorce actions, and personal injury claims. One of the primary reasons parties may prefer ADR proceedings is that, unlike adversarial litigation, ADR procedures are often collaborative and allow parties to understand each other's positions. It allows the parties to come up with more creative solutions that the courts may not be legally allowed to impose. Ghana held its first mediation week in 2003, in which about 300 cases pending in select courts in Accra were dealt with within 5 days. The aim of the annual ADR programs is to ensure that access to justice in Ghana is made easier, cheaper, non-adversarial, expeditious and flexible to all, particularly the poor and vulnerable. It is also to create the opportunity to create awareness on the availability as a complement to the adjudication process in the courts. This year's ADR week is under the theme, Making Our Courts User-Friendly Through the Use of ADR.
Let's get some more information on this particular one. Joining us via Zoom is the National Coordinator of Alternative Dispute Resolution, and that is Alex Nate. Good evening and thanks very much for your time. How far has the education gone down to encourage more people to opt for ADR as a means of solving their legal challenges instead of going through the courts normally?
Thank you very much. The Judicial Service of Ghana has, since 2005, run programs and activities to engage the general public. And as we talk now, over 131 courts nationwide are involved in the ADR program. And disputants continue to opt for ADR. So by that measure, we can say that we have come very far and we are still at it.
Well, looking at the period which we are dealing with, July 19 to July 23, we have 131 courts. How many cases are you anticipating to deal with?
We look forward within this week to handle between 700 and 1,000 cases.
Okay. Now, well, we also understand that there's going to be a news conference in Bolgatanga tomorrow and in Tamale on Wednesday as well. What is going to be the focus of these two news conferences?
The program is relatively new, and we need, if we should achieve our target, to sensitize and build capacity for stakeholders. So the program for Bolgatanga and Tamale this week is intended to interact with court users, lower court judges in these two regions on the concept and the policy direction and the expectation of the program, and to equip them to handle the program in resolving disputes in a manner that will enable the judicial service to achieve its set target under the ADR program.
By the end of the ADR program, what is expected to be the outcome? What are we looking to gain?
We expect that at the end of this week's program, mediators will be refreshed and they will be up to their responsibility in terms of skill and practice. We also would have, updated court users in these regions on the processes and the ethics of the program. We also look forward that at the end of the day, judges will bear as many the mediators to resolve by way of ADR instead of keeping the cases at litigation.
Grateful for your time this evening, and we have been speaking with Alex Nate. He is the National Coordinator of Alternative Dispute Resolution ADR. There's going to be a program that will run from July 19 to July 23, where people will opt for the ADR instead of going to the court to deal with the backlog of cases. Now, it is time for African scientists to lead in finding solutions to the coronavirus pandemic. These are the words of the Otumfuo Seitu II. He's the Santene, and he was speaking on the challenges COVID has posed on African economies. He made this observation at the Millennium Excellence Awards in Kumasi.
The Millennium Excellence Awards, managed by a foundation and headed by its life patron, the Asantehene Otumfuo Seitu II, is held every 5 years to celebrate individuals and organizations which have had a positive impact on the African society. Award categories include scientific development, humanitarian work, medical leadership, corporate social responsibility, and environmental protection. The 2020 event was a celebration of African and international achievers with the coveted Gold Coast Award conferred on President Akufo-Addo on his free senior high school policy and other interventions designed to change the life of people. The Asantehene Otumfuo Seitu II noted that Africa's survival in the challenging new world lies on itself, its political leaders, providing the right policies and creating the right environment for development, its scientists and engineers responding appropriately to the challenges and opportunities of climate change and the fight against poverty and diseases.
Cast your eyes around Africa, and what picture do you see? Protected by God from COVID, but ravaged by politics and from east to west, north to south. At a time of extraordinary challenges, our people are pouring fuel on fire in their homelands. Ghana has a legion of problems, but by the grace of God, we have every reason to be thankful for peace in our land. And I pray with all heart, let no one, man or woman, young or old, politician or whatever, put at risk the sacred peace we have enjoyed for decades.
President Akufo-Addo said he is turning a new chapter in the country's constitutional history with his government.
The decision that was made on the 7th of January meant for me that whatever be the case, I had to find a way of working with the Speaker. The interests of our nation required that the two of us find a way to work together. And I thank the Speaker very much for contributing to this occurrence and this eventuality.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Holy Trinity and Spa, Dr. Phyllis Anya, received the Medical Leadership Award.
The WHO itself defines health as not only physical, mental, emotional, social, psychological, and spiritual well-being, but not only the absence of disease or infirmity. Several areas we have concentrated on building health structures along sicknesses and not along ill health, because we are not looking at the broad range of definition of health.
22,000 individuals and organizations have been awarded in the past 20 years.
You're still watching News 360 here on TV3. Now, days of riots in South Africa has left 212 people dead. The violence has sparked or was sparked by the jailing of ex-president Jacob Zuma. Protests which began after former South African President Jacob Zuma handed himself over to police to serve a 15-month sentence have descended into days of violence and looting. Joining us via Zoom is Lunga Senzo. He is a resident of Durban in South Africa for the latest. Thank you for joining us here on News 360. It's been days of unrest, several, clashes here and there. Cables have reported that at least 212 people have died. From your base in Durban, have things eased up a bit?
Thank you so much, man. I greet you and your viewers. South Africa was bad the past few days, but we are recovering slowly. I'm not sure if surely, but we are recovering. There is a huge difference from the past 4 days, because in the past 4 days, when these incidents were happening, you couldn't go to the shop and buy grocery because big shops were closed. There was no movement. Everybody was scared to move because you don't know what is happening. And after that, few shops, they opened, but there were very long queues and it was bearable. Even when you get to the shop, you find that there is no basic foods because it has been finished. Trucks are not moving to refill. So it has been bad. Even the petrol outlets, we'll see what happens from tomorrow, because tomorrow Jacob Zuma is going back to court for another arms deal case. I'm not sure if he will physically attend there.
There's been looting of shops, widespread reported, many parts of the capital, and also forcing the deployment of security personnel onto the streets, who some have described as being heavy-handed in dealing with the violence. Tell us about that situation as well.
Firstly, I think when this looting took place, I think the police were on a go-slow sort of a march. Remember, they are essential services. They are not allowed to be on strike. But you will find that people are looting and the police will come maybe after 3-4 hours. But then after that, President Ramaphosa, he said he's sending soldiers. He sent soldiers when everything has been burned down. So for me, there was no need for soldiers. Only if the police were up to the task, they would have managed the situation. From the locations around, there are so many people that have been arrested that were involved.
That's extremely worrying, if you ask me. Now, what is the President Cyril Ramaphosa saying about these? Has that been able to calm the residents at all in any way?
President Ramaphosa, he said a lot of things, but he said nothing. He came to Durban and he went to visit Kwamekrom, the least hit mall. He went there for 10 minutes, heavily armed with the army, with NIU, with police, heavily. You can see that he's afraid, he's confused. He spent 10 minutes there and he made an excuse that he can't visit the community, the affected community, because most black people were killed by Indians and whites. People who were driving on the highway and they were killed. Ramaphosa should have visited those families and those communities, but he did not do that. He said he spent 10 minutes at the mall and citing that he's got a cabinet meeting. I think for me that was cowardice.
Thank you, Lunga Senzo, there speaking to us from his base in South Africa, particularly Durban, on the disturbances in that part of the world.
Let's return home, where government says it is strengthening measures and retooling the security services at the country's borders to ensure the safety of citizens in the wake of worrying trends of terrorist attacks in neighboring countries. Now, at a media briefing, Information Minister Kwamekrom revealed that government has been alerted on the growing incident of piracy and terrorism drawing closer to Ghana.
In the last few months, countries that share borders with Ghana, including Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire, have experienced a series of terrorist attacks, with the most recent one, I think, in Burkina Faso. And then to our south, the Gulf of Guinea is also getting inundated with piracy attacks. And it puts us in a pretty difficult situation. There is now also evidence that Ghanaians, or at least one Ghanaian, confirmed to have been recruited by some of these terrorist groups to participate in their activities there.
According to the Information Minister, the intelligence was relayed to government at its 3-day cabinet retreat. He gave an assurance of the state's security preparedness to counter any attack, while calling on all the citizenry to see the efforts as a shared responsibility.
Cabinet has been briefed on the growing, warring nature of these threats and the preparedness of the state security agencies to counter them. But we believe it is important to let the public know that these are some of the challenges, and the public has a role to play also in alerting security agencies and being aware, so that intelligence gathering is made easier for any necessary responses. Now already the administration in the last 4 years, as I'm sure you've noticed, has invested a lot into retooling, particularly our military, and providing some logistics for them up north, but there's the need to do a lot more.
The Information Minister also expressed concern at violence against crew members on vessels by pirates, which he said is on the ascendancy. Insecurity across West Africa and the Sahel has expanded into areas previously considered safe. The caution is born out of recent attacks at neighboring Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire.
Let's now go to the Upper East region, where continuous expansion in communities along the Ghana-Burkina Faso border in the Katsina-Nankana West district of the region has wiped out border demarcations. Almost all the boundary pillars at Paga, the district capital, have been encroached upon, while others are completely missing.
The Burkina Faso-Ghana boundary extends over 600 kilometers from the tri-point with Cote d'Ivoire to the west and the tri-point with Togo to the east. It was initially delimited in general terms by an Anglo-French convention in 1898 and later described in detail between France and the Great Britain from 1904 to 1906. Activities of Yonga Mining Company from Burkina Faso at Saplega, a community in the Boku West district, is one of the reasons for the missing border post and pillars between the two countries. A joint Ghana Boundary Commission and their Burkinabe counterparts, the permanent secretary of the National Boundary Commission, toured the boundary site to assess the situation. Though the current human activities have not resulted in disputes, both countries agreed to set up a joint technical committee to tackle the issue. National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Dr. Emmanuel Kotia, was delighted over the cordial relation between the two countries so far.
With this grouping and the understanding that the dialogue that we are having, we should continue with this dialogue to resolve issues. We will leave the rest of the dialogue with the district administration for them to continue the meetings that they have been holding with the two committees.
The Burkina Faso Permanent Secretary of the National Boundary Commission, Zachary Leonitin, pledged her outfit's readiness to collaborate with the Ghanaian counterparts.
Plus de 30 ans après cette opération,
upon the proposition made by Burkina Faso during the 10th session of the Joint Commission between the two countries, the two sides had agreed to review the reaffirmation of their common border through archiving existing landmark coordinates.
The two pledged to work together to restore the historic signs and prevent further disturbances to border demarcations.
You're still watching News 360 here from the News Hub at Adesawi Kanda in Accra with me, Komla Adum and Aisha Yakubu. We have more stories after this. Please stay with us.
I'm going to interview Zuzum right my house. Hey!
Look up there. Why are you using inferior pen?
It was a mistake. I no check.
Akrobetu, I'm going to knock you out.
I know, sir.
You deserve quality.
Don't make mistakes. Stop.
You did the right thing.
When you are going to buy a paint, don't look left, don't look right. Go straight and grab the luxury acrylic paint. No be any paint, be paint.
The luxury acrylic paint.
Paint me champion.
That's not your wife.
Every time your children are falling sick, you don't have money.
Stop, everyone. Baby. What's setting me here for tonight? You know I like that sweet-scented insecticide spray. Little bit on the porch. Now the be up in the living room. Bedroom what you hear. Me love you, me baby.
Although you're dead.
Of course, I take very good care of my wife and children. So I always win. If you want to protect your family against mosquitoes, there's still this sweet-scented perfume coil now. I repel mosquitoes. I know a man who say baby. And the spray, also sweet-scented. It kills all crawling and flying insects. Heaven insecticide. Oh, sharp no. When the badamoshi, prevention is always better than Maunsanka or Heaven insecticide spray. And in the coil, if you say heaven dear,
this advertisement has been vetted and approved by the
My way insurance. Everything around me come my way insurance. Who's some patron? Any problem brain I become Busiano. Rasu said, what's so bad? Come my way Busiano. Mr. Phone, Nedimati. Dear kind, dial *165# or MTN so. Afe select option 2. Never register. Afe select option 1. Na confirm. Should the person travel so me? Obey savings account what choose wa. For momo code nishim. Now policy ne endimo. A chat to a crano. Dial *165# ni bio. Never a boost your neighbor couldn't come home. Dear Matray, so what shall see and went to me and you are. Make growth will be fro. No more wow. And now I know a boost your one more day. And I was away my way insurance. Send you my way. Cause no way.
My Way protects you against death and total permanent disability. A product of My Life and MTN Momo.
I love football. Football can be a dirty game, on or off the pitch. Even when I'm trying to score at a party, stains find a way of tracking me down. But I don't worry at all, because I have Cleansoft. Use new Cleansoft 360 Deep Clean, a unique formula with active ingredients and enzymes that gets rid of all stubborn stains and leaves your clothes smelling wonderful.
Cleansoft, my favorite.
Cleansoft 360 Deep Clean, clean all.
Mama. Me no. And I can't stand it.
Just a moment. And now power, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jack Macron no more. It's you cannot guess it there. Hey yo, contomre. What okuni? Tomato sauce only a baby. And a pasadine for box with salad here. Hey yo, stew. And a jollofa. Never to the one. That don't know it though. Up to that. And the ball here. Oh, man, to bunny a doa. You want a pasta sauce? Check for you, sir. Oh, more tasty. And a big beans for the breakfast. Let's all a salad in the mom. Oh, she. And a tuna. We can puffle. Let's all a salad in the mom. Oh, taste good. And a pan on dairy creamer. For box, we so can see oats. Na cremitino. You want and a pasta spaghetti. Talia Poppy. Mansunin Sijadu Re. Nafa and a spaghetti no gum. Who and a pataliano are you ready? For what? On you with you. So I am no so good.
Dem de ruboyi FBA Ashishim Ajat.
Thanks for staying with us here on News 360. Let's do some agri-related stories now. An Agri-Impact and West African greenhouses have embarked on a 5,000-meter square commercial tomato greenhouse at Dawenya in the Greater Accra region. The project is intended to shore up local tomato cultivation and provide jobs for the youth.
Ghana consumes a total of 450,000 metric tons of tomatoes, but produces only 318,000 metric tons, leaving a gap of 102,000 metric tons. The 5,000 meter square commercial tomato greenhouse is an upgrade from the 640 meter square greenhouses under the Youth in Greenhouse Enterprise project, an initiative by the Finance Ministry. The 318,000 tons of tomato produced in Ghana is cultivated on 47,000 hectares of land and yields about 8 tons per hectare. According to agric experts, Ghana will require 9,000 hectares of land to produce an additional 75,000 tons.
If you put all the greenhouses that we have in Ghana together, we will be between 23 and 25 hectares. That's the total land surface of greenhouses that we have in Ghana. The greenhouse technology will be very good for urban production. We will also save a lot of land when we produce on greenhouse, in addition to having the best quality vegetables for the Ghanaian populace to consume. And that's the reason why we are investing a lot in greenhouse.
The project is funded by the Ghana Exim Bank.
Away from that, about 95% of 1,000 teenage girls in the Gbawe cluster of schools here in Accra have never used sanitary pads. From pieces of cloth to tissue paper and the likes, the girls have to improvise as the price of sanitary pads continue to rise.
Gbawe cluster, made up of 4 basic schools, is under the Wajak Gbawe Municipal Education Directorate. They comprise the Gbawe Methodist Basic 1, 2 and 3 and Gonset Basic 2. The teenage and menstruation girls we spoke to confirmed they have never used sanitary pads.
I've never used sanitary pad because it's very expensive. Some is 6.5, some is 5.5. If you don't get money, you have to use cloth, tissue, toilet roll, and
I use material. It's not okay, but I don't have money to go and buy the sanitary pad. That's why I use that one.
It's very expensive. We don't have money to afford sanitary pad, so we use steel.
Some are coming from very unfortunate homes, such that they use racks. Some use other materials, which I don't even want to mention.
The Inspire Today Foundation decided to support. More than 1,000 girls were covered. Founder of Inspire Today Foundation, Etonam Say, says in a country where about 9 million Ghanaians survive on 5 cedis a day, it will be difficult to expect young women to pay between 5 and 8 cedis for sanitary pads.
This is the biggest number we have had to take on so far since we started donating to teenage girls in public schools. In fact, not all of them are teenage girls. Some as young as 9 years are already menstruating, and they are in class 3 and class 4. We know that the conversation is ongoing about reducing or taking off the tax on sanitary pads. While we are at it, these girls are bleeding every day and we cannot wait. We just would have to come in and help.
To them, access to underpants would be a luxury, as the many of the girls did not have more than one panty. They were further provided with roll-ons, shaving sticks, bathing soap and educational materials. Inspire Today Foundation is a social intervention and network organization nurturing a nationwide movement of female leaders through concerted efforts at achieving the Sustainable Development Goals 3, that's to establish good health and well-being, and Goal 5, which is to enforce gender equality. Away from the Greater Accra region, the Central Regional Directorate of the Departments of Gender, Children and Social Protection has warned against shielding perpetrators of defilement and other forms of sexual abuses in the region. At a sensitization program in Cape Coast, Regional Director Richlove Amamu noted sexual abuse is criminal and has to be reported.
The Regional Director Richlove Amamu noted the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection remained committed towards adopting vigorous policies and programs to promote gender equality and women's empowerment.
Memorandum of understanding have been signed to promote gender equality and eliminate sex discrimination, and gender-based violence in all spheres of life. The ministry is also pushing strongly for Ghana to institute an affirmative action law. Culture, educational, and economic challenges persist and hinder the progress of many young girls, which need to be addressed.
The program's manager of Women Aspire Network, a gender-based NGO, Sally Lariba, bemoaned the high rate of teenage pregnancy in the region and called for concerted efforts to curb it.
We as Women Aspire Network would be going to the communities, the senior high schools, the junior high schools, the churches, every organization we need to tackle from the community and from the grassroots. Not do this without parents, without stakeholders, because whatever they say is whatever the children are going to believe and are going to follow.
You're still watching News 360 from the News Hub here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. Aniela Alote has the latest from the world of sports, including which teams have been relegated from the Ghana Premier League after this. Please stay with us.
The groom is sick.
What?
Malaria.
Malaria. Lufat. Lufat.
Injeja wohoma malaria enka won to them. Lufat, eye malaria drop ekope.
And now you may kiss the bride.
Entrance Pharmaceuticals and Research Center. And I Lufat. Lufat. It malaria sententem.
FDA Ashasa Ejedi Nkratoi Ajatum se Eje.
Welcome wherever you are on Planet Football.
You can go anywhere in the world, but nobody feels football like we do.
And they sing, they dare to sing.
It's a rhythm.
1-2.
1-1-2. Football.
La football.
Soccer.
1-2.
That moves us.
Salah to settle in. There's no feeling like that feeling. It's so nice. It's so nice.
Nothing compares to DSTV's unbeatable football offering. So stay connected to watch the best football on the planet.
Day by day men, strong and refined, the skincare you deserve. Dream.
Sports segment is brought to you by
Sasso insecticide spray and coil. Welcome back to News 360. It is now time for sports with Aniela. Aniela, we're hearing that some teams have been relegated, including Entire Lives, Liberty Professionals, and then Edition Drops. How tough was that?
You know, Aisha, it's been a very tough competition, especially in the relegation zone, because the top part of the league had already been won. But when you come down, going into the final game day, that was round 34, the points were about 40, 39, 39, 38, 38. So at that point, it could have been anyone's guess who goes out. Now, despite Liberty drawing goalless with King Faisal have managed to breathe a sigh of relief because they are saved. Even though they were on 41 points with both Elmina Sharks and Ebusua Doves, the head-to-head record shows that they have a better deal when it comes to that. And so they have been miraculously saved despite being on, you know, level points with them. But the big blow comes for Liberty Professionals because they are a club, especially with their pedigree, having produced some of the greatest, not only players on the domestic scene, but internationally. We talk about the likes of Michael Essien, we're talking about Sule Muntari, we're talking about Koja Samoa, this could be a big deal for them going back into the lower division.
So what do you have for us from the world of sports?
Definitely. Today's game featured Liberty Professionals and King Faisals, and we have the highlights of that particular goalless draw between the two.
Prospania Boost ball. Kwaku Kakari. Good save from Dalad Ibrahim. Liberty. Frimpong. Here is Abraham Wayo.
Because the ball is almost going backwards, but still has to get the shots away. He does get the shots away straight to the goalkeeper.
Eskim's what Frimpong's free kick. He bends one in. That's a timely header out by the... It's relegated from the Guardian top flight. King Faisal avoid.
The curtains have been drawn on the 2020-2021 Ghana Premier League season. Now, Accra Hearts of Oak have emerged victorious with 61 points. Now, the first runners-up are Kumasi Asante Kotoko with 57 points, and Wafa are the second runners-up. After a defeat over the champions, well, victory over the champions, that is a 1-0 victory over the champions. But at the bottom of the league, the relegation battle was very tough and with very close calls. And finally, Inter Allies have been relegated, coupled with the likes of Liberty Professionals and Ebusia Dwarfs. The table is currently being displayed on our screens. Accra Hearts of Oak are top with 61 points, Asante Kotoko with 57 points, and Wafa with 56 points. And towards the bottom of the league, Inter Allies have been relegated, but that was already well decided. Liberty and King Faisal join them in the relegation zone. Division 1 side, Accra Lions have been promoted to the Ghana Premier League after an emphatic victory over Danbot FC today. Now, the Accra-based club made a short trip to Nungwa to beat Danbot 3-1, courtesy a brace from Dominic Nsombila and a strike from Oliver Amedo. Danbot FC, despite being 3-0 down, scored in injury time to earn a consolation goal. It is the first time Accra Lions are earning a promotion to the top flight, and it seals a very impressive campaign for them. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has congratulated Hearts of Oak for winning this season's Ghana Premier League. In his letter delivered to the Ghana Football Association President Keto Kreku, the FIFA president hailed Hearts of Oak's victory, bringing it down to hard work, passion and commitment exhibited by every member of the team towards their triumph. Now, Hearts were handed the league trophy at the Wafa Park in Sogakope despite their 1-0 defeat to Wafa in the last round of matches. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says that Manchester United will announce the signing of Jadon Sancho once they have finalized some paperwork. United have agreed a 72.9 million fee to sign Sancho from Borussia Dortmund, and the 21-year-old is understood to have completed a medical and agreed personal terms.
We've
Arguably the most popular illegal narcotic drug in Ghana. Call it ganja.
People are smoking cigarettes and cancer is killing them. God has given us natural hemp.
When I don't smoke, I like fighting and misbehaving. But when I smoke, I calm down.
As Ghana progresses in taking the bold decision for its industrial production, we explore the current state of the law and its economic benefits.
The cultivation of vast lands of industrial hemp will bring in revenue that will stop the president from going on flights abroad to ask for arms.
I have been cautioning that people will take advantage. And should it happen, and I expect it to happen, and there is a boom or explosion of mental illness from cannabis abuse, Parliament must simply hold themselves responsible.
Ganja Gold, the journey towards industrial hemp production. A TV3 feature by Sarah Apenkropako, showing on Tuesday, July 20 on TV3. Also showing on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. And all updates on 3news.com.
In international news tonight, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has expressed shock at what she describes as surreal destruction caused by last week's flooding. She visited affected areas of Western Germany on Sunday, talking to survivors and emergency workers. At least 184 people in Germany and Belgium are now known to have died in the floods. Heavy rain is continuing to wreak havoc, with attention now shifting to parts of Australia and southern Germany. Now, emergency crews rescued people from homes in the Australian region where floodwaters submerged the streets of one town.
Still on the international front, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak leave 10 Downing Street in central London to attend a cabinet meeting as Parliament returns after summer recess amid the ongoing. The Prime Minister and the Chancellor will now self-isolate after contact with Health Secretary Sajid Javid, who tested positive for COVID-19. The reversal comes just hours after they said they will take part in a pilot scheme involving daily testing instead of self-isolation as a measure of dealing with the COVID pandemic. That'll be all for our bulletin this evening. Coming up shortly right after here is Ghana's most beautiful 16 gorgeous ladies. Aisha, I know you have some favorites in there. I know you're rooting for them, but we will not disclose them here.
Right, absolutely.
Yes.
We'll just encourage people to vote for them if you need them to stay on in the competition. Remember, there are 16 of them.
Yes.
All of them want to be crowned Ghana's most beautiful 2021. But that's all from us. My name is Aisha Yakubu Khalid.
And I am Komla Adu. Thank you for watching.